Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Patty XRP, and today we are going to continue our series highlighting some of the projects that will be vying for Parachain slots on the Polkadot Network here coming up in Q4 of 2021. And with today's show, we will be covering Bifrost Finance, which is a parachain to unlock liquidity from staked and bonded assets. So moving over to their website, basically the Parachain is designed around staking liquidity. And right here, you can see that a staking token, basically, if you stake on Polkadot or Cosmos or Tezos or something like that, basically your token's locked up and you earn some of the inflation that's coming into the ecosystem for putting your token to back the security model of the network with the validators. And so with that, you can only get staking rewards and you have the opportunity cost of not being able to sell the asset, participate in DeFi, move it cross chain, utilize other dApps. And that's kind of a big deal. That's a huge opportunity cost that people have to take into account when they decide to stake some of their assets. And with that, Bifrost is going to enable liquid derivatives of staked assets so that you can also earn staking rewards and simultaneously use something called a V token to participate in DeFi, exchanging of assets, other dApps, and cross chain liquidity. With that, this will allow you to hedge, so it's going to be anti inflation, prevent devaluation of staking assets, and no lockup position. Additionally, they'll have double rewards, like we're saying, so you can get your staking rewards and DeFi interests at the same time. And with leverage, you can use the V token for lending leverage to expand staking principles. So you could use this like V token as collateral for a loan potentially. Additionally, these V tokens are going to be transparent, so all behaviors operate on the parachain. They will have a right in governance voting, so business parameters can be adjusted through democratic governance. Cross chain, so you can move these assets throughout the Polkadot ecosystem and other cross chain setups. Additionally, they're fully backed, so there's 100% backing for the stake, so no risk of principal loss with it. Additionally, they're going to be fungible, so no matter which validator you're staking with, you will receive V token and the rewards. Additionally, it's going to be unlimited supply, or unlimited availability, so compatible with decentralized and centralized settlement scenarios, depending on how these parachains evolve in the future. And with that, let's take a look how these layers kind of work together. So originally, it was either staking or you can participate in DEXs, dApps, other DeFi protocols, and other parachains. But now, with the Bifrost parachain, it basically it separates the levels between staking and then all the dApp participation in DeFi. So it enables you to get the staking rewards from the base layer protocol while also simultaneously using a liquid derivative in some other area to basically earn multiple yield streams at the same time. We can get into the native asset of the Bifrost Finance Parachain, which is going to be called Bifrost Native Coin, so BNC. This is the mainnet token of Bifrost with an initial supply of 80 million. And with that, they haven't really had much private sales. They've had a little small amounts and some investors as well. And those BNC token vouchers will be exchanged for the actual BNC token on the mainnet. They also went through a Kusama Parachain loan offering and were able to successfully grab one of the first 5 available. And those assets look to be transferable over to the parachain that will be on Polkadot in the future. And with the Bifrost Native Coin, they're looking to basically capture value for the entire ecosystem with this. So they'll take a liquidity commission for derivatives. They're going to have slash collateral. So, similar to some of these other parachains we talked about, they're going to have sets of collators that basically organize and send all the transactions that are happening on the Bifrost Finance parachain, setting up the blocks and sending them to the validators on the Polkadot relay chain. So the collators on Bifrost Finance are going to have to put up some slash collateral beforehand to kind of protect against that, and that'll go into also how the staking is done through their V token system. And also with that, one thing I forgot to bring up. So we talked about Akala and how they're going to have Liquid Dot. This is a similar thing. Liquid Dot is a derivative of dot staking. So they'll have the same thing on Bifrost Finance in their own way, but additionally, they're going to offer some more on top of that. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. And additionally, though, they have a governance voucher so you can participate in their on chain parliament, the technical committee that will be used for really severe situations where they need like a team to be working on solutions immediately and proposing them to the community. They'll have treasury allocations, referendums on governance, node elections, and any other functions. And additionally, it'll capture staking rewards. So part of the staking reward generated from Bifrost will be used for the Bifrost Native Coin repurchase and put into the state treasury. So they have a system to buy back the BNC tokens and store them in their treasury. And then additionally for the incentive model with BNC, so how are you going to earn some of this token without purchasing it? So they will be using 15.2% of the total BNC supply will be as rewards for V token minting incentives. And I believe it's distributed over 10 years linearly with a halving every 2 years. And then additionally, the Parachain lease offering. So anybody that bonds their DOT tokens behind the Parachain Bifrost Finance. Once they have the slot auctions there, you will be able to earn your share of 12.8% of the token that's distributed over time. And so when you do that, they'll have kind of like a application on like the web that you can go to set up how much dot you would like to put behind this project and bond it, and you'll also be able to see how much rewards you could potentially get depending on how many people are needed to successfully win the Parachain auction. There are going to be 3 requirements for any kind of staking derivative that they offer. The assets need to be released on chain, the rewards settled on chain, and the equity can be proved on chain. So, with that, proof of stake assets kind of fit into those characteristics to start with. So, Bifrost Finance will be working with the Cosmos blockchain, additionally, the Tezos blockchain, and then Ethereum once it's over to proof of stake, and those 3 assets will be supported. Also, DOT and Kusama will also be able to be used with this staking derivative function that they have. And with that, we can kind of see they have a formula on their wiki that shows how the price of these V tokens is decided. So each basically V token is going to be 1/100th of the staking token that's put into the application. So you can imagine if you put 1 DOT in, you would more than likely receive 100 V tokens back, minus any kind of fees or anything like that, or maybe just like some minor basis risk between those 2 prices. And with that, they have this formula set up that shows you how they calculate, how many V tokens to mint in comparison to dot staked, what the V token mint price will be, what its redeem price would be in the future. And so with that, we can go over one of their case studies. So it says user A mints 1000 V dot with a zero point 0.01 token mint price that converted would be 10 dot on Bifrost. And so with that, let's say over the period of time that this generates half a dot in rewards after 1 week. And moving forward, this would raise the mint price from 0.01 per token to 0.0105 per token. So at that moment, 1000 V dot can be redeemed for 10.5 dot, which is the extra 0.5 dot in staking rewards. So you can see how that changes over time and keeps track of how much staking rewards you have accumulated since you were able to get that V dot. And with that, I think that should cover everything else here. So, yeah, sorry for the pause there. I'm going to go into the next section. All right, for the next part, which is what I'm most excited about with Bifrost Finance, is they're going to have something called Bifrost Salp, which is a slot auction liquidity protocol and aims to release liquidity of contributions in Kusama Polkadot crowd loans through the issuance of derivatives. So, as it stands right now, any parachain that you bond your DOT or KSM behind requires you to lock that asset up for whatever the period is. Maybe it's on Kusama. A lot of these have been 48 weeks. It looks like a lot of parachains for Polkadot will be looking to do 2-year leases. So that means you'd have to have your DOT on Polkadot or KSM on Kusama be locked up for that entire period and you can't access it. But with this slot auction liquidity protocol that Bifrost Finance is creating, they're going to allow people to basically bond their tokens behind parachains, but also unlock the value that's accruing and represented by those bonded tokens via two different derivatives. The first one will be a called VS token, so voucher slot token, and a VS bond, so voucher slot bond. The former is a fungible token which represents a voucher of a user's contribution to a parachain auction. So you can think of these VS tokens as rights to the underlying assets that are bonded under the parachain. And then additionally, the VS bond is going to represent the rewards that are accumulating over time that a user is going to receive for bonding their DOT or KSM behind a parachain. So you may be wondering, okay, is this something I can do when Bifrost Finance starts applying for like a crowd loan to get a Bifrost slot? Or sorry, a Polkadot slot. And yes, you will be able to do it for the Bifrost Finance slot auction when they start participating, and they'll have like a little application on the internet that you can do that with as well. However, like let's say something like Moonbeam or Akala were to win an auction prior to Bifrost Finance, then that means that you wouldn't be able to use this functionality in order to participate in those parachain auctions. However, from my understanding, that once Bifrost Finance has basically gotten a parachain slot, that this can be expanded to future parachain slot auctions for other parachains and not the Bifrost Finance one only. So I think that's a huge use case for the future. I've been thinking about, how do I want to participate in staking on Polkadot, and how do I want to participate in these parachain loan offerings? Well, if I can get the best of both worlds, either by staking and participating in DeFi or bonding my tokens behind a parachain I believe in, and also to earn some of those rewards, but also have that liquidity and value unlocked so that I can participate in DeFi on Polkadot. That's a really big incentive for me. So I'm really excited that they're doing this. And, people are going to need to be able to swap between like V dot and dot, or maybe VS dot and dot. So they'll have like liquidity pools and stuff on the network as well, and it's going to be composable with some of the other parachains. Like it looks like Akala is one of their partners, so I would imagine you'll be able to use assets on Bifrost Finance or Akala if you want to go over there and participate in that. I'm sure like Moonbeam at some point would be open since they have a lot of DeFi multi-chain projects launching there. But I think it could be really cool if you're able to do like a V dot to dot liquidity pool, because those prices should be extremely heavily correlated since VDOT's deriving itself from the DOT token. And that would mean very minimal and permanent loss. However, like if you were looking to be in a liquidity pool to kind of counteract, um, the movement of two tokens against each other, VDOT and DOT would move really close in comparison. So like when you have a downside, you get more downside, but also with the upside, you're receiving, basically the full appreciation of the assets if there's very minimal and permanent loss. So that could be an interesting way to participate in DeFi on Polkadot. And with that, this is kind of what their user face will look like. So you can see like you can contribute to different projects and basically sign up for these VS token slots, which whenever you do this, so like let's say you bond behind the Bifrost Finance parachain, you would get a VS token for the dot that you bond behind it, and then you would get a VS bond token that represents all the BNC, so the Bifrost Native Coin rewards that you'll be receiving during the lease period for the parachain. And so with this, we can kind of see the original crowd loan workflow. So Parachain A would set the whole thing up, and then users would contribute DOT or KSMs for the Parachain A with the auction slot. And then if it didn't happen, they would return those assets. So if they failed to get the Parachain slot, and if it succeeded, they would release the auction reward over time back to the user. And then once the slot lease is expired, they would return any DOTs or KSMs bonded behind the project. However, with the slot auction liquidity protocol workflow, you can see that you're able to basically get VS dot or VS KSM and your bond returned back to you before all of the dots and KSMs are bonded behind the parachain via the slot auction. And if it doesn't happen, then basically these VS dot or VS KSM vouchers and the bond vouchers will be burned or destroyed. And if it successfully goes through, now you have, you know, liquidity that you're able to use with your bonded assets via a derivative. So that's really powerful and cool, and I think that'll help a lot with people trying to determine, which opportunity costs that I'd rather um, go with when deciding to stake on Polkadot or bond assets behind a parachain. I'd say like the parachain bonding aspect, where you can unlock the derivatives there with Bifrost Finance, is probably the most powerful, mainly because I haven't seen other projects that are like in the top um, possibility of being a parachain early on in the Polkadot ecosystem. I haven't seen any other ones kind of creating something like this. We do know Akala has Liquid Dot, which is a staking derivative for Dot. So it'll be interesting to see how those two compete against each other and also work together and compare in the future. So that'll wrap it up for basically, what's going on with this project, and we'll touch on real quick just some basic tokenomics. All right, so the token allocation has changed a little bit roughly since they made this diagram, but for the most part, it's going to be relatively correct. So about 50% of the BNC token allocation will be going to the ecosystem. So this is people that participated in the Kusama or Polkadot PLOs. Also for the V token mint incentive, collator incentive. So those are the people that are ordering transactions and sending them to Polkadot validators, and then also for their slash insurance fund that we touched on briefly early on. 20% is going to go to the founders and the team. It looks like they will have it unlocked 6 months after the token generation event, and then each month some more will be unlocked up to 24 months total. And additionally, they had a couple seed rounds, a strategic round, and a private round that total about 15% of their tokens. It looks like they raised that would be about $2.15 million from that. And then they have some reserved for marketing and community building, as well as a mint drop and 10% going to the treasury to help with the long term of sustaining their parachain slot into the future. So just like some of the other projects, they'll have a treasury that's kind of collecting assets on the network to help with future parachain slot auctions. But with that, that'll kind of wrap up this video on Bifrost Finance. Definitely think they're doing some interesting things, especially with the what do they call it? The VS token, which is going to be for unlocking liquidity from bonded DOT or KSM behind a parachain. But with that, I'm Patty XRP. This is the DeFi standard, and I am out. See you guys.